Um, First, let me thank Pastor Wale for this very kind invitation to come here today to be with you at the Green with Creativity Conference. And I must commend Pastor Wale for consistently being innovative himself in the types of conferences that he organizes, and especially the content of those conferences. I want to just congratulate you again on this, very innovative conference. And I'm glad to see that you've also devised a new way of giving people gifts. So I see my own gift, and I'm going to get a photograph as I leave here. Thank you very much. I'm extremely pleased to be here today to join you to explore ideas in innovation, creativity, and in and of themselves, and also technology. There's no question at all that we're already in the fourth industrial revolution, the digital technology revolution. Everywhere you turn, new opportunities are being created in this new economy. We're literally living in a new age and time, and daily, innovative young people are creating new technologies to solve problems faster, and they're impacting larger numbers. Let's take a few quick examples. And some of these are examples that I personally find quite exciting. If you look, for instance, at Nollywood and our music industry, and the work that the Nigerian entrepreneur Justus Nwoga has been doing with Iroko TV. How many people have come across Iroko TV? I think that, first of all, Iroko TV is doing an incredible work of innovation. Obviously, there's nothing that he has invented, and this is quite an important point. He has not invented any of the tools that he's using, but he is using tools that have been invented to do some, to add some real value and to do some extra work that is making films and music available to so many, and he's also able to benefit musicians. Musicians themselves and film stars are able to benefit. One of the big problems with our music industry, one of the big problems with entertainment is piracy. So you need an innovator like a Justus Nwoga who understands that the musician also wants to make money, the actor or actress also wants to make money from their own creativity. But they are not able to do so because there is so much piracy. But with the kind of work that he's doing, he's able to ensure that the films are available, but that they're also paid for, so that that industry can truly grow. That industry has attracted $20 million in equity investment so far, and seems to be attracting even more. Of course, we've all heard of Konga as well, and the revolution of online shopping. It's very clear that, again, it's not as if they invented any of the tools that they're using. But they've converted existing technology in such a way as to create great new opportunities, not just for online shopping, but for so many other allied businesses. They've created a lot of work for courier companies. They've created work for persons who are even just doing deliveries, not necessarily courier companies. There's so much work that they're able to create, not by inventing anything, but by leveraging on what has been invented already and creating a whole new ecosystem that benefits everyone. I'm sure we've all heard of Jobberman. I'm surprised that he's not even that is not here, And you probably know that Jobberman was listed among the top 10 startups in Africa by the Forbes magazine. So it's obvious that what these three young techies from University of Ife or Obafemi Awolowo University, what they started has become, big enough to be noticed by Forbes magazine and to be noted. This is just an online human resource business that they started, and it's grown and grown and grown. And it's not. And when you look at it, and that's the great thing about creativity. It really is common sense solutions, applying technology and using technology for, purely common sense solutions. I work with a group of young men in Abuja. They're called Venture Gardens. When they started their business, they were the average age of about 28, three of them. And what they do basically is big data automation. They basically use a lot of, compile a lot of data and use data automation. They also have revenue assurance systems. And currently, they have a control room, a control office, if you like, in Abuja, where they monitor power generation and power distribution using their own equipment, and real time. You can tell how much power is being generated. You can tell how much power is being distributed. You can tell how much money is being paid to generating companies and to distribution companies. And you can tell wherever there is a drop in power. I'm connected to their control room. I have a dashboard in my own office connected to their control room. So I can tell when there's a problem with power. I can tell when gas has dropped. I can tell when, power is wiped out. As you can imagine, that's happening so frequently now. So every once in a while, I get up on my table, I see that power has dropped, because these guys have been able to create the sort of technology that enables us to monitor all of these things real time from my own office. And of course, they are making some fairly decent money for themselves in the process. Animation is also another area where there seems to be so much work going on. I don't know whether you've come across some of these companies. Of course, while we were campaigning, we came across quite a few animation studios. And I've kept in touch with so many of them. And what is clear is that is a huge growth area. There's so much that's happening in animation. As a matter of fact, recently, one of the big Hollywood studios was visiting our animation studios here in Nigeria. And they found that they can use them, they can outsource a lot of work to them, but also they need more capacity. So they're also helping them to build capacity so that they can do even more work. I'm sure you've heard of Spore Dust, Orange, VFX, Cerebral, Commotion Studios, and some of these really good animation studios. They are doing incredible work. And I know that very, very soon we're going to have our own Warner Brothers and all of those really big animation studios here. Again, they are simply using existing technology. They are innovative, they are creative, using local material, using local content, local storylines, local jokes, and all of that, and doing so well in all of in doing all of this. I think that the main thing for me is that we can be extremely creative in technology, because the average Nigerian young person, in my view, is extremely creative. Because when you look at what people are even doing in music and all of that, you can tell that our creativity resonates around the world. No matter where you go, you'll hear Nigerian music being played somewhere. You hear it in stores abroad these days. And most people don't even understand what is being said, but they just like how it sounds, So there's some creativity, there's some innate creativity in the Nigerian young person, and I think we should tap into it and take advantage of it. Just very quickly, I'll just go, before I come back to some of the other ideas that I think we could explore. I just want to look very quickly at some of the plans that the federal government has for technology and innovation. Thankfully, the budget was signed yesterday, so at least we have something to work with. But why are you clapping? Oh boy. This must be the most expected budget in the history of budgets anywhere in the world. But anyway, I think that's a good thing, and I think we're going to find that there is quite a bit that will be devoted to technology and innovation. First thing is that the government intends to establish 2 super hubs in Lagos and Abuja. Now, these, of course, are technology hubs that we're hoping we'll be able to establish in Lagos and Abuja, and then 6 regional hubs in the 6 geopolitical zones. We already have some partnerships with technology companies, that are willing to resource these hubs and that are also willing to put in place some capacity building tools. Each hub will be designed to produce some relevant innovative technology solutions to a wide range of business, commercial, and government problems. For example, we're hoping that we'll be able to get people who are interested in alternative energy solutions, in public services delivery, especially in health, education, and agriculture. These areas are very important for government. And basically what we're trying to do is to find those who are interested in creativity that can enable government services, creativity that can enable social services, health care, education, agriculture, and all that. Already we have quite a few applications that people have developed. There are some applications in agriculture which help to measure, which help to test soil and combine soil testing with matching for fertilizers and all of that for use in agriculture. So we have, quite a few of those kinds of things. There are some health applications also that have already been developed and that we think we might be able to take a little further. But we think that there is a lot of innovation that can be done in delivering social services and government services. And we're hoping that some of the work that we'll be doing in the next few months will help and enable that. In July this year, we budgeted for the training of 65,000 young Nigerians in hardware and software services and more sophisticated software services such as animation. This will mean that we'll be building more local capacity to build and assemble hardware and to write programs. We'll be focusing also on technology for media and entertainment. Basically, we intend to create a reservoir of human capacity in technology that can be exported or that can create the sorts of applications that can be exported. Now, we're also, as you know, training 500, basically as a job creation measure, 500,000 graduates to be teachers, to be extension service workers, etc. But the interesting thing about this training is that we're going to ensure that they are trained also in relevant technology. Each of them, we're hoping, will have a device that will have on it sufficient programs and applications that will help them in technology training of various kinds. We're working at the moment with quite a few technology companies that are helping to develop that device and to see that that device is, so when you're trained as a teacher or you're trained as an extension worker or trained in whatever of these 500,000, you also have some technology training that enables you on your own to be creative, enables you to, perhaps if you wish, do your own business and work out other things that you may want to do. The 500,000 graduates are actually meant to be volunteer teachers, but they are not necessarily people who will end up teaching. Many may not want to teach. Many will just, want to take to know how to teach, to be taught how to teach others in various things, teach technology, teach the arts, teach whatever. But also, they'll be enabled to work for themselves and to become, entrepreneurs if they so wish. On the 23rd of June, we're launching a special presidential initiative on innovative technology. We'll be bringing together to the villa 50 of the most innovative technology startups. They'll be meeting with major technology and innovation companies, as well as venture capital, collaborating with us to take their ideas to the next level. So that's going to be an interesting one, and I'm sure that very soon it will be advertised. What we're trying to do is to bring the most 50 of what we consider the most innovative technology companies and individuals together in Aso Villa. The president will be speaking to them and basically encouraging them, and we'll also be bringing in technology companies and venture capitalists who may want to take a look at the work they're doing and who may be interested in taking their work to the next level. So these are, some of the ideas that we hope will be funded by the budget, by this current budget. But I also want to say that technology is one thing. I mean, creativity along the lines of technology is one thing. But I also believe that we must encourage ourselves to be persons who reflect and who think. And this is why creativity in the arts is very important. The use of our imagination in entertainment, the use of our imagination in writing, the writing of poetry, the writing of plays, the writing of books and stories, short stories, the generally creative writing and creative enterprise generally. Of course, there's a lot going on today in photography, TY, and people like themselves are doing a lot of work in the arts, even just painting and doing all of those things. We need to be far more creative in those areas. And those areas are important, in creating the kind of society that we want to see. A society that is introspective, a society that's imaginative. Young people who are thinking ahead, who are thought leaders, not just thought leaders in creating technology, but thought leaders in creating ideas that will change the world. Somebody described that was Faust, the president of Harvard University. She's a lady called Faust, and she said, "We must be speakers of words and doers of deeds." We must be speakers of words and doers of deeds. Persons who can speak words. Persons whose writings can encourage generations, whose writings can encourage themselves and encourage so many others. And I think that aspect of innovation is particularly important. That's why last week we made the announcement that my office, as the office of the Vice President, will be giving what we call a little Nobel Prize. So we call it a little Nobel for creative writing of poetry and short stories. And that's also going to be announced to coincide with October 1st, the October 1st celebration. So people who write short stories, people who write good poetry, people who are able to be creative and imaginative with words, and who can do all of those kinds of things, will be trying to encourage them as well. I think a society that has such people is a society that will grow. Already when you look around you, there just seems to be a shortage. Aside from people like Chimamanda and all of those, there just seems to be fewer and fewer people in the creative arts especially. So I'd like to just encourage all of you that the world is literally at your feet, and ideas will rule the world, not only for now but forever. It's the big ideas that will rule the world, but not just the big ideas, building on the ideas of others, Some people call it copying, but then what is original? There's nothing original. Everything is copied, everything is you build on something to be able to create the future. So I'd like to thank you again very much for listening, and I wish you a very, very creative and enjoyable time here. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. What we've had in all the sessions up until the Vice President's session was that we had questions for all the speakers, and his own session will not be an exception. And I think there are no questions? Okay. There's a question. Okay. All right, now, what we'll just do is we'll just take about 3 questions, because I know that he has to. So, is there anyone who has a question? You have a question, all right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, my question is this. Currently, the ease of doing business in Nigeria is put at 166. That's to say that before Nigeria, we have 165 countries that try to make doing business in their countries better. Now, we also agree that in Nigeria, we have young people who have good ideas and who are creative. Now, I want to suggest that the federal government sets up a competition for the young people who are not really big companies or individuals, but they have these ideas to come up with ways that we can improve the ease of doing business in Nigeria, ICT-wise. Then I also want to ask that what is the federal government doing to enable the civil servant embrace this change? Because we will agree that the problems that we face are created by ourselves. So the people who are going to use these tools that will be created, how are we going to get them ready to deliver on this change mantra that we want to happen in our country? So thank you very much.
Okay, I think you want to take the questions, all of them together. Yes, so if there's another question.
All you've highlighted are quite complementary in regards to what the government intends to do for startups or innovators. But something critical, I think, would make what you have highlighted to impact the society on a scale if the government takes a responsibility to guarantee certain portions of the market. What do I mean by this exactly? Say, for instance, now, I'll make a reference to a country like India, for instance. You said the buses they use on their streets, most of the buses are manufactured or by Tata, for instance. It's not as if the Indian government does not know that. I could buy buses from somewhere, Brazil, Europe, or wherever. But the opportunities within are given to local manufacturers or even startups to fill up spaces within the market. Say, for instance, you give a share of the market, guaranteeing 30% of the market for startups, for non-critical operations or for non-critical products, so that people can take advantage of this, learn on what they are creating, and add value to the society. By this, you can create jobs. If you need, for instance, if you need 1 million houses in Nigeria, look at your average house. Everything in the house is virtually imported. So if you are going to, build such houses, then you need people to participate within that sector, within that industry, so that jobs will be created. I think it takes the government who has that responsibility to do such things, to guarantee markets for people to exploit. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. My name is Olajide Akintuyi. I just want to ask, what is the government actually doing in actually telling or probably advising the ministries on how to connect back with the society? Most of them have sites. The phone numbers there never go through. The emails there never connect. We need to connect with them so that we can be innovative enough to give ideas out to them on how to move forward. Say, for instance, a lot of their logos, we can help in upping those logos. Those logos are way out of, just look at NTA, for instance. NTA's logo is way out of existence. We need something new, something fresh, something called change. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we'll take 2 more questions. Right, so I don't know how you do that.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. It's a quick question. We have a health plan that can provide life-saving diagnostics to at least 20 million people in 5 years. We've approached so many state governments without success. How can we reach the Federal Ministry of Health to provide very, very good life-saving diagnostics for millions of people who need it at the right price? Thank you very much, sir.
My question is very similar to what he asked. I have a mobile technology that is already delivering learning to 2.9 million Syrians in Turkey. So I come to Nigeria to talk about this product with the local government and the right ministries, and it's really difficult to get them to understand this modern technology and how it can solve those problems. So who do we contact and how do we get this kind of solutions out there? Because it's clearly part of the federal government's agenda and everything that you've already spoken about today. Thank you.
Okay, those last 2 speakers, you're going to pay for advertisements, but it's fine. But all right, I don't know if your plate is full or you can take 2 more. Okay, 2 more.
We have heard so much about the interest of the federal government with relationship to agriculture. And recently we got involved in agric. And we discovered that there seemed to be a policy gap. For example, in vegetables, like tomato. The conventional way of growing tomato in 1 hectare of land can only deliver about 10 metric tons in a year. But if you deploy greenhouse technology, it can give you as much as 240 tons in a year. But meanwhile, I can't see the policy direction of the government towards using these new creative tools in ensuring food security in Nigeria. We went into the tariff book of customs, and we discovered that there is nothing about greenhouse technologies in the tariff book, that the closest to it is prefabricated houses, which comes up to 20% tariff. But meanwhile, the greenhouse technology of agriculture should actually be like an agric tool, like implements, like tractors, and what have you. If tractors can give you a maximum of 10 tons per hectare, and greenhouse technology can give you 240 tons per hectare, I think it should also be included in the tariff book. Thank you.
Okay, here's the last question.
I would like to know what the federal government is doing on making education in Nigeria qualitative, and then what are they doing to regulate the fees paid by private institutions? Thank you.
We're done.
Thank you very much. I was actually just going to walk away with my photograph and no, but it looks as if people have other plans. I think the first question was on ease of doing business. If you've looked at some of what has been going out, the strategic plan of implementation for even the current budget, you'll find that ease of doing business is a priority. The Minister for Investment, Trade and Industry has been mandated to move Nigeria at least 30 spaces up within the next 18 months on the ease of doing business index. So there's a whole lot of activity around ease of doing business. And I certainly would be interested in knowing what suggestions you have for improving the business environment. But as you know, ease of doing business is very wide. You are looking at so many different things. People are looking at land policy, for example. People who want to establish businesses are looking at land policy. They're looking at building approvals and all sorts of pre-investment approvals. They're looking at tariffs. So it's a very huge field. So if there are specific areas that you believe that you can contribute to, then I'd like to have those suggestions so that we can incorporate them if we find that they agree with where we're going and what we're trying to do. But it's a very important priority because, as you know, it means the difference between getting investments at the level that we want them or not getting those investments at all. So that's a very important area for us. And I'd certainly like to hear what your suggestions are. Someone asked a question about enabling civil servants to embrace change, and how will they embrace change, especially technological innovation. One thing that is very clear is that most people are slow to embrace change. Most people are slow to embrace any kind of change, let alone technology. But I believe very strongly that technology is so intuitive now that we really don't have a choice. Practically every one of us has a device that is technology-driven. Our phones are now smart. So practically everyone, even the most archaic civil servant, has a mobile phone. So that's a platform for all manner of technology, for all manner of innovation. And I think that it's not particularly difficult for civil servants today to adapt to whatever technology there is, because the platforms are already there, and it isn't so difficult. For example, many receive a lot of information today electronically. In the past, even 10 years ago, receiving information electronically was unknown. Today, most receive information electronically, and we can only continue to increase that space. I served in this state as Attorney General for 8 years. One of the things that we did was to revolutionize our judiciary, especially in the area of innovation and technology. So we tried, for example, to ensure that our courts used used electronic recording machines, but not just electronic recording machines, but also that you could file cases electronically, and we did quite a few of those kinds of things. But we found that it was difficult to get the judges, especially the more senior judges, to use the technology. Difficult to get them to use computers. Difficult to get them to use laptops, especially the more senior ones. But today, I mean, our timing obviously at that time was wrong. We were way ahead of our time. Nobody was using technology the way we wanted it used. So our achievement was limited. And that's the way it is with every business, with anything you want to do. Sometimes your timing may be way out. Today, the timing is right. And you'll find that all of what we try to do is almost, completely logical now. And everyone is using those systems, and they're using them with great ease, and there is absolutely no problem. So I think that the time has come, and I don't believe that there is any great obstacle in the way of getting civil servants, or anyone for that matter, to buy into technology. You made the point about guaranteeing the market for local industry, and that really resonates with us and with sorts of things that the federal government is trying to do. One of the key pivots of the federal government's economic policy is the whole idea of made in Nigeria, of insisting that things have to be made here and that we have to make a lot of things here. Part of the reason is that we have no choice. Today, we've virtually run out of the kind of foreign exchange that we used to have before. At some point, oil was $100 to $115. Today, it hovers around 40 and lower. The cost of production of oil has gone up, so actual profit on oil is very, very slim indeed. So there is no foreign exchange. So we don't even have a choice. We have to do a lot of stuff locally. For example, if you look at meters, the electric meters that we have, we are insisting that those electric meters should be at least assembled in Nigeria. I mean, in the past, of course, a lot of them were just imported whole, and they were, used in Nigeria. But we now have companies that are at least assembling. And there are also companies that are assembling phones and devices and all that. And we definitely are insisting that they must be patronized, beginning with government. A lot of people are saying, a lot of companies have come forward to say, look, we make shoes, we make textiles and we can make textiles for the army, for the police, and all of that. And we're trying to incorporate that into policy. It's very important that we do so, and it's not even creative. We have no choice, because if you can't afford to import, then you must innovate. You must find ways of encouraging local industry. So India and Tata and all of that, and what they're doing, obviously they are ahead in terms of automotive, in terms of the automotive industry and automotive technology. But I think that we also have a good opportunity to get there. And already there are quite a few companies that are assembling, at least, putting together automobiles and all that. And we need to get on to the next stage. But that next stage needs development, especially of middle-level technology, which we lack. Middle-level people who can couple stuff, who can fabricate, and all of those kinds of things. And we need that manpower, and we have to grow that manpower as well. I think that there was a question on how do we connect somebody was saying that we need to, you need to connect with the ministries. The ministries need change and all of that. The logo of the NTA is too old. It needs a change. The truth of the matter is that, as with everything, what you're making is a business proposition. That's what you're making. You're making a business proposition. And government, too, can receive business propositions. So if you are saying that you can, if you're saying that you want to change something, if you're saying that the NTA ought to buy into a proposition that their logo looks too old and they ought to change their logo. I mean, there are so many other things that they need to change aside from their logo, if you ask me. But the thing about it is that you make a proposition. Because everything that is government-owned moves very slowly. There's nothing that is government-owned anywhere in the world that moves quickly, whether it's the U.S. government or the Nigerian government. Governments are traditionally slow. They just take their time, you know. So what we need to do is to create the opportunities and all of that. And I think that this is an important, this is something that's important. Even if you started, if you as a company decided that you are going to do online, come and let us do a new logo for NTA. And you start an NTA new logo competition. There's no way the NTA is not going to buy into it, whether you ask them or not. If you start it, they'll buy into it. And I'm sure that there's so many new innovative ways. But I want to say also that with connecting with the ministries, that's certainly something we need to work on. Connecting with government ministries and all that. Because government, and this is all part of our ease of doing business ideas and ease of doing business program. Because it's extremely difficult, and I agree with you, it's extremely difficult to access government ministries. Aside from the fact that so many people obviously would want to access a government ministry, but it's also very, very difficult, you know, just to be able to access them. But what I think in our ease of doing business, and one of the suggestions, is to have, you know, a good, robust, interactive website so that the ministries themselves have enough information, because there's no way everybody's going to be calling and expecting to get answers. I mean, there'll just be hundreds of thousands of people. But a very good, innovative, you know, robust website, at least to provide a lot of the baseline information. And then if you need other information, one can then go ahead. And I'm sure we're going to achieve that with our ease of doing business program. Those who want to read the Federal Ministry of Health and the lady who has an innovative technology which is used for training, I think that you'll be speaking to my assistants who are here so that we can see how we can set up time with you. That, I think, will be the way. And of course, you know that if you do make any money, you must remember that, you know, this was done by creative. Pastor Wale is raising both hands, not just one hand. You know. Now, the federal government in agriculture, and I think the point you've made is a very important one about greenhouse technology and putting greenhouse technology into the tariff books. It's very, very important. As a matter of fact, it's interesting that you'd mentioned that, because just last week we were looking at financing agriculture with the relevant ministries in my office, and we had a fairly large meeting, a very long meeting, just looking at the issues around financing and how to free up so many of the bottlenecks around financing. And one of the critical points that was raised was actually tariffs on agricultural products. You will even find that today there are actually tariffs on agricultural products, and we're trying to encourage agriculture. So what we really should be doing is removing tariffs on agricultural products, just so that farmers can access this. And I think that this is going to be this is very important. This greenhouse technology is very important. But I just wondered whether you couldn't locally fabricate a greenhouse. Is it so complicated that it cannot be innovative? Why can't we develop greenhouse technology locally? It doesn't sound to me like something that's so, maybe I don't understand it well enough. I mean, but it just seems to me to be a place where, you know, you create the environment for growing, you know, usually it's in some, you know, a house, a transparent, what I've seen at least in the photographs. It doesn't seem to me to be a particularly difficult technology, but then maybe it is. But if it is anyway, it's the sort of thing that must go into the tariff regime, and we should be able to remove tariffs, or at least lower tariffs on such very important technology, especially because we intend to be self-sufficient in tomato paste by the end of 2018. By the end of 2018, we intend to be self-sufficient in tomato paste. Already quite a bit of work is going on. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the big companies that are Erisco, Dangote, and Co., who are doing quite a bit of work, buying up tomatoes and trying to make paste. So I think it's an important area, and certainly we'll be looking at this. But I also want to find out whether this is technology that we cannot create. I think that's about all. I think I've answered practically all the questions. Is there any other one? Education, yes. The lady asked, what are we doing about education? Quite a bit, actually. First, in technology, I'm sure you've heard that we're trying to encourage science, technology, engineering, and maths, the so-called STEM subjects, because we think that in order to become technologically relevant, we need to train people in technology. And so we're starting this year to give bursaries to entry-level students in science, technology, engineering, and maths. And that's the first phase of that whole incentive for those who are in science, technology, engineering, and maths. The other thing is that we also recognize that you must be able to train from the primary school. In fact, what is called preschool. We must be able to train in the direction that we want people to go. So reading and writing, basic reading and writing skills, are an important part of the new education policy. Strong reading and writing skills. And then there's a lot of talk now about introducing technology, training in technology at that level. And so you'll find that the focus of the next few years will be first on the curriculum, and secondly on teacher training, to be able to get teachers who will be relevant to what we're trying to achieve. So there's quite a bit of activity going on. We're dealing with so many different groups who are trying to input into the new curriculum and who are trying to input into the new ways that we're thinking of developing. But a lot will be going into teacher training, and a lot also will be going into primary education, the basic education at the primary level, where we're going to be trying to strengthen basic reading and writing skills, and also technology, training in technology. There's a model that we've been trying to adopt, which is the model developed in Estonia, where the primary school children are actually taught to write programs from a very early age. And we think that Nigerian children can be taught much the same, to write programs at a very early age when they're growing up. And in any event, in the next few years, it is unlikely that many school programs, especially early education programs, will not have some form of technology training, because that simply is the direction that the world is going in. So those are some of the ideas that will inform our education policy going forward. Thank you.